Hi guys, today I'm going to show you how I colour in this daisy flower. This is the Daisy 2 stamp from my Flower Stamps brush pack, which you can get on my website. So first I'm going to go into the Flower Stamps brush pack. I'm going to find the Daisy 2 stamp and we're going to put that on the screen. I'm just going to change the direction and make it a bit bigger. I'm going to turn the opacity down for the stamp layer and create a new layer above that one. I'm going to use this middle pink colour. I'm going to put these colours, I'll put a link in the description for these colours. You can download them from my website. If you want to use the same colours, you can use the same ones. I'm just going to go around on the new layer, go around the outside of the stamp and just outline it. And I'm using my fine line pen from my everyday brush pack here, but you can use any solid lined pen from Procreate, any fine line pen or monoline brush or whatever you want for the outline of this. And once that's all outlined, we'll just fill it in and we'll move the layer underneath our stamp layer. We'll turn the opacity down a little bit more. I'm going to add in some shadows. So I'm going to create a new clipping mask above that coloured layer and turn it, set it to multiply. And I'm going to use my soft brush. You can use any airbrushing brush for this. I think in the airbrushing section there's some soft brushes or something in there, but I love this soft brush. I use this soft brush and my blending brush I pretty much use for everything, but we're going to go in with the soft brush and we're just going to lay in some of this shadow colour where the petals overlap. And it doesn't have to be perfect either, just roughly go in. We're going to come back and we're going to blend it in just a sec. Once that's all done, we're going to get our smudge tool and we're going to set it to, I use my blending brush from my everyday brush pack, but I think you can use the soft brush and turn down the, what's it called? The stabilization, and that should be okay. But the blending brush I have in my brush pack is my favorite. I use it for everything. You can probably download, if you Googled blending brushes or whatever for Procreate, I'm sure there's plenty that you could buy, that you could find for free. If you can't afford to purchase any, they would work just as well, I think. And we're just going to go in and we're going to blend out all that shadow. And once that's all blended out, I'm going to use this dark pink colour and I'm going to just mark out where that centerpiece is, and I'll just do it on the same multiply layer. And I'm going to create a new layer above that one and also make it a clipping mask. And I'm going to choose this other dark pink colour on the top row. And I'm going to go probably about halfway up the petal. And I'm also using my soft brush here too. I'm going to go about halfway, colour about halfway up the petal. It doesn't have to be super perfect or anything, but just roughly get some colour on there. And we're going to come back and we're going to blend it. And once we're done with that colour, we're going to choose the darker orange colour on the bottom row in the middle. And we're going to put that colour down in the middle of all the petals. And we're just going to leave a little bit at the ends, which we're going to come back and we're going to do yellow after this. Okay, now we've got those two colours on. We're going to get our smudge tool again and our blending brush, and we're going to blend those two colours together on each petal. And once we've finished doing all that, I'm just going to move our multiply layer above our coloured layer now so we can see those shadows a bit better. Now we're going to get our bright yellow colour, and we're going to go back to our colour layer, and we're going to put that on the ends of all the petals. Also still using our soft brush. Then again, we're going to use our smudge tool and our blending brush and blend that yellow into the orange. Now we're going to grab our dark pink from the top row of the colour palette, and we're going to create a new layer above that colour layer. And we're going to make our soft brush small, and we're going to just go up and create some lines through those petals. Now we're going to grab this orange colour. I'm actually going to change this and make it a bit of a darker orange colour. I'm going to grab this orange, and we're going to go through and put some lines in around the middle part of the petal. Okay, now we're going to make a new layer, and we're going to get our dark pink from the bottom, and we're going to change the layer to multiply, and we're going to set our soft brush low around like 2 or 3%, I think I have it, and we're going to add in these lines. I like to do about 3 lines per petal. You can do 2, however many lines you feel like doing, but I like to do 3. And we're going to kind of curve the lines to go with the shape of the petal. And now we're going to go in with the blur tool, and we're going to blur them a little bit, about 4%. And then we're going to duplicate that layer, and we're going to set the layer mode to screen. And then we're going to move that layer slightly to the bottom right. I'm just tapping the screen to tap it down very slightly. I'm going to move that layer underneath the multiply layer. I keep accidentally putting it in a group. And I'm going to turn the opacity of the multiply layer to 73%. Feel free to make yours darker or lighter if you like. Now we're going to create a new layer. We're going to set it to multiply and make it a clipping mask, and we're going to use our dark pink from the bottom row. And still using my soft brush, I'm going to make it a bit bigger, and I'm going to put in this darker colour right in the centre of the flower. And I think it needs to be a bit darker, so I'm going to add in this darker pink colour to the palette down the bottom. I'm just going to go over again with that darker colour. Then I'm going to take my eraser set to the same soft brush. I'm going to turn it up quite big. I'm just going to go and erase some of that from up the petal. So it's just towards the bases of the petals, the centre bit of the petals of the flower. I'm going to make my brush quite small, and I'm going to go in and make the shadows where the petals overlap a bit darker. Sort of the same as what we did at the start. We're just going to lay a bit of that darker colour down and then blend it out. And then if you accidentally get some on the petal that's on top, you can just erase that off. Once that's all done, you can really see the difference when you turn off that layer to the difference that those extra shadows make. I'm just going to turn the opacity down to about 68%. And I'm going to create a new layer and set it to multiply and make that a clipping mask also. And with the same dark colour, I'm just going to go around that centerpiece of the flower again and make it a bit darker and blend that out. I'm going to turn my blending brush up quite big to blend it out. Now I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to get this bright yellow colour, and I'm going to show you how I use this flower middle brush from my Flower Stamps brush pack to do the centre part really fast, real easy. So first I'm going to go in with this yellow and create the circle part of the centre. And we'll leave that as our base, and we'll create a new layer on top of that one, and we'll choose this brown. I'll make it like a light orangey brown colour, and I'll pop it down the bottom near the greens on the colour palette. And I'm going to use that colour to dot in the bottom half of that circle to make it a bit smaller, and dot in the bottom half of that circle that we made, and then drag the colour slightly down a little bit to make it a bit darker and go over it. Then I'll take back that original light colour and go over that a little bit more and fill in the top part a little bit, and then we'll drag it up and make it a bit lighter, and we'll go over the top of that. And then I'm going to make it a little bit more yellow and drag it up a bit lighter, and we'll go over again. And the whole idea is to just start off with a darker colour and then gradually go lighter and lighter, building it up on top of the darker colours until you get to this sort of bright yellow colour at the top. And so it has a bit of depth, and it's just lots of dots. Instead of you dotting it all, it does it for you. So that's just one way you can do the middle using that flower middle brush from the Flower Stamps brush pack. I'm just going to show you how I do it without using that. I'm just going to use my fine pen from my everyday brush pack. You can use any of these pens from the inking section, will probably work fine, like any pen really. I'm just going to be dotting in the center. And I'm just going to go around with random dots and dot all that center in. Then I'm going to use this light brown orange colour, and I'm going to go in and dot some of these over some of these dots. But I'm going to try and keep the dots on the bottom bottom left of those yellow dots. And then I'm going to grab the yellow and then just go back in slightly overlap those darker dots. And it's a little bit light underneath those dots, so I'm just going to make a new layer underneath and fill it in with black. I'm going to make a new layer above those dots we just done and change the layer mode to add and make it a clipping mask and use the bright yellow colour. And I'm going to use my grain brush from my everyday brush pack. I'm just going to add in some textured highlights on top of those dots. Now I'm going to make a new layer above our base layer and change the layer mode to add and make it a clipping mask also. And with the same green brush, I'm going to go around the edges of all the petals and I'm going to add this bright yellow in as a highlight and with a bit of texture around the edges of those petals, the ends of those petals. I'm going to make another new layer and I'm going to change the layer mode to color dodge and make it a clipping mask also. And I'm going to use the same texture brush and I'm going to use this light pink color. And I'm going to go around and add some highlights in the middle of those petals. Now I'm going to go in with my eraser and I'm going to erase wherever those highlights hit the shadows. And you can see here what a difference those highlights make. Now we're going to make a new layer above everything and we're going to get this dark green and we're going to draw in our stem. Make sure you close off the ends so you can fill it in. And I'm just going to drag that layer all the way to the bottom. And then create a new clipping mask on top of that layer and we're going to set it to multiply. We're going to use our soft brush again and add in a bit of a shadow on this stem. Then we'll create another new layer on top of that and we'll choose the light green and our soft brush and we'll add a little bit of highlight on the stem too. And then I like to go back to the original stem layer, the base layer, and then just erase off the end so it looks like it's fading into nothing. We'll create another layer on top and we'll make it a clipping mask and change the layer mode to add. And I'm going to get my texture grain brush again from my brush pack and add a little bit of highlight on top of that stem. And you can go ahead and merge all of those together, and we're going to get rid of our stamp layer and create a new layer on top of everything. I'm going to choose a very light yellow and my highlight pen, and I'm going to go around and highlight all the petals. And when I do my highlights, I do it like this. I put sort of a lot of pressure and then ease off with a little bit of pressure towards the end. So it's like a thick and thin line. And then I raise the ends a little bit to make them blend in nicely. You can also use the light pen from the luminance section in the Procreate native brushes for this. Will work just as well if you don't have my brush pack or another highlight pen. I'm going to use my stars brush to add in some stars. I usually just add heaps and then erase a few that I don't want. I'm just going to change the background a bit darker so it's better to see. And I'm going to create a new layer above our main flower layer. And we're going to go in with a very light pink, almost white pink, and the soft brush. And I'm just going to add extra highlights in between those petals. I'm going to change the layer mode to overlay. I'm just going to go around and do that for each petal. And I'm just going to blow them out slightly, about 4%. And that's it. Colourful daisy flower all done. Thank you so much for watching.